Hi everyone and welcome back to SwitchUp. Hello Glen, who is joining me for this sales video. Today we're going to tell you about 10 games that are on sale, as well as a couple of Savaloys for ridiculously cheap on the Nintendo Switch eShop sale.
Yep, for the most part these are at least 50% off. There is one game that isn't, and guess what? It's a Nintendo first party release, there you go. But we wanted to include at least one of their games, so yeah. Apart from that one, all the rest are pretty hefty discounts.
Make sure you save yourself 10%, 5% instantly and 5% in cashback using code SwitchUp over at switchup.gg when you buy your eShop credit. What's on sale? Well, let's find out.
So the first game we're going to mention then is Monster Hunter Rise. Now this is a game that we've ploughed many hours into over the years, this series to be honest, and this is probably the most accessible game in this series so far, I would say.
Absolutely. At 13 quid or just over, that's a crazy price really for the amount of time you're going to get out of this one. Now you might have heard a lot of talk about how you can play this online with up to 4 people, 4 of you in total, but it is one also that has a full storyline, so you can play it solo. There's an emphasis on learning and mastering each weapon class, and it's just a brilliant game.
It really is, yeah. It's definitely still one that you'll either love it or hate it, I think. I think there's still definitely that moniker to it. But if you're ever going to get into the series, this or possibly its predecessor on the PS4, they're the ones to try for sure.
That sale is down 60% until June the 25th. Then also on its cheapest ever price is Lilies Quietus of the Nights, which is down 50% to $10.99. And it's a brilliant, and I said I wouldn't say this, it's a brilliant Metroidvania. It's a lovely Metroidvania. It features a young girl who's essentially got this like demon companion who fights for her. So lots of the moves that you'll do, you literally see him spawn next to you and do an attack. It takes cues from things like Hollow Knight in the sense that you have to sit and rest at benches. There's a fast travel teleportation system, all the things that you would expect, but very good. Some really nice boss fights. It has a lovely soundtrack and also what I thought was a really smooth skill tree system. That one, as we say, is on sale until July the 13th, so you've got a decent chunk of time and it's its cheapest ever price.
Next then, let's do that Nintendo game, and it is Kirby and the Forgotten Land. Now this is at 33% off, which I believe is its lowest ever price. It doesn't compare to the other games, but as we said, that's Nintendo for you, I'm afraid. Now this is the 3D Kirby game that released, I think it was last year, I'm fairly sure it was last year, and it's really quite a lovely game. I've played this one through, and it does remind you of those classic 2D games, albeit obviously in a 3D space. You'll have Kirby's powers of being able to suck up enemies and transform into other objects that will help you solve some of the, the slight puzzling that you'll come across. It's just a very charming adventure.
That one's going to set you back £33.29, as Glen says, the cheapest it's ever been, and that's until June the 25th. Then we have This War of Mine, which comes from our friends over at 11-Bit Games, I believe. And it's an excellent survival/simulation game, isn't it? Where you're trying to survive a war.
Yes, yeah. So it's a game based on war, but you don't play as the soldiers, you play as the civilians, as you say, trying to just get through everyday life as things are destroyed around them. You'll have a group of people that are in this house, and you'll need to take control of them, building things that they'll need, cooking for them, etc. And then of an evening you need to go out and try and find resources to try and keep yourselves alive. Obviously there is danger everywhere and your characters can die, and it is really quite gut-wrenching when that happens. It's amazing how they've conveyed that feeling across in a game, and at the minute I believe this is 95% off, which is an absolute steal. I've said this before, it's not a game that you enjoy in air quotes, but it's certainly a game that you experience, and for that price it's a bargain.
Did he just say bargain?
I'm
so sorry.
Proper words.
Then we've got the Portal Companion Collection, which includes both Portal 1 and 2 on the Switch for the first time. I was pretty excited to see these come because I thought we might get the rest of the orange box. Hasn't happened, but you can only dream. But these are really interesting first-person puzzle games that use physics. They were revolutionary at the time, and they just feel as good as they did then. Thankfully, they run well on the Switch. They have all the mod cons that you'd hope for. But the best part is that they have Stephen Merchant in the second game.
Yeah, that is a highlight, to be fair. He's very funny. Yeah, these these are great games. 50% off as it currently stands. Definitely worth picking up.
By the way, thanks for that. The important thing is you're back. With me.
Then we have Slime Sand, which is down by 90%. Now this came out really early on in the Switch's life. Maybe a game that's either been forgotten or just newer Switch owners never even knew about it to begin with. And it's basically a Twitch platformer where you need to get through levels before you are destroyed. You play as a small little slime-based creature, and it's got a very gaudy colour scheme, but it does work very well for the game, you know, lots of neon colours.
Yeah, it has that contrasting, doesn't it, with the blue backgrounds and like the colourful characters.
That's right.
I remember this very well, and just was so impressed by, again, it's simple in air quotes, but it works. It's very addictive. Great game.
Yep, this is down to just under £1, I believe, at the minute, 89 pence, or your regional equivalent.
And it has co-op as well, which I didn't realise.
I didn't actually know, so that's, yeah, double bubble.
It's on sale until July the 9th. Unleashed, which I believe Dave reviewed for us back in the day. It's currently 80% off, down to about £3, which is a real bargain. So this one does feature apparently some soft permadeath. It is a roguelite, I think that's worth noting. There's over 40 different bosses in there, and it does have co-op in there as well. And I have to say, just looking back, I'd forgotten this one. It looks absolutely beautiful.
As Mark mentioned, yeah, Dave from SaveDex Gaming did review this one for us, so we'll put a link to that review if you want a bit more information.
To find out why and prove him wrong.
Then we have Immortals Fenyx Rising, which was kind of Ubisoft's way of competing against Zelda Breath of the Wild, wasn't it? Now, this game did need a few patches, I think it's fair to say, but has since received those patches and runs very well, and it's a very good game.
It really is a good game. This is, I mean, it's in there kind of, you can almost imagine the meeting. They sat down there like, oh my goodness, Zelda's done so well. What are we going to do? And like the little intern was like, I've got an idea. Why don't we make the same game? Because let's be honest, it takes so much, the climbing, the gliding, like it feels very similar. But that's not always a terrible thing.
No, it's not. And if you're going to do it, I mean, basing it around something like Greek mythology, as they have done, for me, just it perks my interest tenfold, you know?
Absolutely. And let's be honest, the combat system here is decent. Now, I would say that, does it have the longevity of the Zelda series? No, probably not. But I do think there's more than enough here at these crazy prices as well. This one is it matching its cheapest ever price?
It is, yes. It's down to £9.99 or your regional equivalent. That's 80% off, and that sale ends on the 25th.
Aphrodite? Hephaestus? Athena? I'm looking for Ares.
I am he! Fuck off!
Then we have Blaster Master Zero. Now, I did see the sequel is also on sale, possibly the third game too, I didn't spot that one. But these are currently 50% off, but they are cheap games to begin with. They're only £9, so you're looking at about £4.50. Now, this is a game that was based on a classic game on the NES from many years ago. I think Inti Creates bought the rights and then kind of expanded on it in their version of the game. I suppose they are Metroidvanias in terms of the fact that there are parts that are sealed off until you get a particular ability. You play as a young boy that's trying to find his pet frog. He jumps down into a hole and ends up finding this tank called Sophia. A very strange story. The second one, which I've also played, is equally as good. This time you're blasting off to other planets as opposed to being in one base the whole time. I did prefer the succinct nature of the first one, a little bit more perhaps, but both fantastic games.
The sale on all of those goes on until July the 4th, and yeah, 50% off each. Then we've got our hidden gem for the week, and it's difficult. It's getting more difficult to find hidden gems. I think this one a few of you will recognise, but I also know a lot of you might never consider it, and it's Spirit of the North.
Yeah, so this game sees you playing as a fox. It's one of those kind of adventure games, something like Journey, for example, you know, that sort of thing, where you make your way across some quite beautiful landscapes. There's some platforming in there, some minor puzzling as well. Yeah, it's one of those where you need to be in it for the adventure, you know, for the sense of adventure that you experience as you play through, rather than having an out-and-out game, if that makes sense. But it's definitely one that I enjoyed, and one of those that I would have recommended on sale anyway, you know. This is currently 66% off of its normal price, which takes it down to £6.79 or your regional equivalent, and that one goes up until the 10th of July.
Awesome, let's have a look at a few games then that are even cheaper, so they're less than £2.50 or £2.99, the price of a classic Savaloy.
Right, the first of those then is Earth Atlantis. Now this is a shoot 'em up set underwater. The world has been filled with water, uses a lovely sepia tone style, and it sees you trying to find and destroy a number of large bosses. It can be a bit repetitive, but at 93% off, it's definitely worth considering.
Then you've got Rumbo, which I believe is what you would class as, is it an endless runner or a continuous runner?
It's more of a party game where you will compete against others, and each of your characters is a different colour, and then sometimes the colour of platforms will change, and if it changes to the colour that you'll fall through it, you know, so you just need to be careful. Quite a fun game to play with other people, and this one's 90% off at the minute.
Then we have State of Mind, which features the glorious Doug Cockle, and this one's 90% off. It's a 3D adventure title that runs really well and just has a brilliant cyberpunk story.
And then finally we have Troberbrook, which is a point and click adventure game set in Germany, an alternate Germany, I think in the 1960s. Very funny game actually, quite humorous. Classic point and click, you know, starts out quite logical, goes outrageously bizarre and obscure towards the end, but uses a really lovely art style where everything was created using models, 3D models, and then filmed. Looks lovely, and yeah, decent game, 90% off.
Awesome, so that takes us to the end of our list. As we said at the start, do save yourself some money on the eShop credit using code SwitchUp over at switchup.gg to get your 5% off instantly and 5% in cashback.
Yep, there's also a link down there to Play Asia if you're looking to import any games. Again, use the link, use the code stated, and you can get yourself 5% off of your order from there too.
Brilliant. Thank you to our Patreons and members, and for all things Switch all the time, keep it Switch up. Cheers guys. See ya.